Welcome Cancer to your in-depth monthly horoscope for September 2023 for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you some standout details to look out for, but please stay with me. I will explore in much greater depth all the ins and outs particularly relevant to your sign. Now, Uranus and Jupiter are in the part of your situation to do with your long-term plans, but also to do with your higher aspirations, the things that would really give you that extra dimension to life that goes beyond, the physical realm. Now, Uranus is going to be really influential because it links brilliantly with Mercury at the start of this month, with the new moon which occurs on the 15th, and also with Mercury at the end of the month. So I think when it comes to your long-term plan, your connection to others, your friendships, your social situation, there is going to be an awful lot of text messages and emails and thinking and fluidity. But of course, Mercury is retrograde through the first 2 weeks of this month, so I need to share that with you. But Mercury also forges a very special connection to the Sun on the 6th, so I can't wait to share that. But then later in the month, from the 25th, we have the autumnal equinox. The Sun moves into the sign of Libra, where Mars is already, and the combination of these two energies over the next 13 weeks could see you thinking a lot about where you live. There could even be some movements or adaptations that are going to happen in that period. So please stay with me for more. I'd just like to share with you a very special opportunity. Year 2023 is speeding by, and year 24 racing towards us. If you order your year 2024 personal horoscope forecast now, based on your unique birth data, I'll provide for you the rest of year 2023 free of charge, but also my special package of 30% off. You'll get your character analysis report, your life roadmap, which will give you searing insights of the patterns that have played out so far, but also help you to get a much more intimate understanding of how to work with these energies. Please see the link below for more. And also, I'd just like to flag up to you that underneath this video, you can see your year 2024 free zodiac horoscope video forecast. So Cancer, your thinking and your communications as you enter into September can be very much to do with your longer term future and plan, and your network to others, or the allegiances you have because of the energy of Jupiter and Uranus in the 11th house. And of course, Uranus is forging that really dazzling link to Mercury despite its retrograde. So there could be some rethinking and some fluidity. Of course, the sign of Taurus, where Uranus is a fixed sign, so that can create some tension. So if your longer term plan isn't going quite at the pace you want, that wouldn't be a surprise, because Mercury went into its retrograde on the 23rd of August, but actually was slowing down from the 4th, and maybe been waiting for some paperwork or a concrete offer on something, and it may have seemed very slow and frustrating. And this is understandable in a way, because Mars, the planet of desire, is in an emotional part of your situation, but linking to the position of Saturn, the planet of limitation, in the most expansive part of your situation. So if you're wanting to change something, and it is going to give you the kind of home and emotional life you really want, the communication all around that may seem very slow, and that could be part of some frustrations which you're feeling. But I just want to tell you that on the 4th, Venus, which is in your sector of everyday money, ends a 42-day retrograde. And I think that is really going to be something you're going to appreciate. And it wouldn't surprise me if some money came to you really quite soon, because Venus is actually forging a terrific link with Jupiter, the greater benefit, the planet of fortune, Venus, the lesser benefit, also potentially fortunate, but they're in a square for the first 3 weeks of this month. And I think something could manifest, or you can meet people that, there is a sense that they do get where you're coming from, and the connection can be very uplifting. But ironically, just as Venus goes direct, Jupiter goes retrograde. So that longer term plan may still not go quite at the pace you would like, but the financial component within it, or a sense of your own self-worth, can firm up with Venus going direct, particularly as from the 12th through to the 30th, Venus then applies in a very solid way to Mars. Now, once we get to the autumnal equinox and the Sun moves into the sign of Libra, this yearning to get this environment right, which is so important for all Cancerians at all times, is actually going to start to take shape even more. But at this mid part of the month, I think the link between Mars and Venus, it can be a very enabling link around the showing of affection or attraction. It's just that Mars is in a more sensitive location, and Venus is asking you to be very grounded in your approach around resources. Maybe you're going to have a discussion with someone about a property matter as they connect, which can be very pleasing to you. But then on the 15th, Mercury goes direct. And I think this will help to ease the logjam, even if it doesn't quite still completely resolve itself, but the new moon on the same day is definitely going to help. And the reason for that is this Virgo new moon. Obviously, Virgo energy is very much about ensuring that things are working efficiently, and we're approaching things in as virtuous way as possible. So it's asking you, this particular new moon in its angle to Uranus, to make sure that your thinking is really up to speed, fresh, and you feel stimulated by that direction of travel and the exchanges you're having. But Pluto, of course, has transformed your relationship since 2008, and there could be an even further development which is going to happen from the 18th to the 23rd, as the Sun angles to Pluto in a very constructive way. So a very deep and powerful conversation could be very important to you at this part of the month. But on the 25th, we have the third cardinal quadrant emerge as the Sun moves into the sign of Libra and augments that energy in Libra with Mars. So I think that's really helpful. Just be aware, however, that the energy that Saturn, or the restriction that Saturn applied to Mars at the start of the month, is actually applied to the autumnal equinox too. So over the next 13 weeks, even if you do want to see something evolve around where you live, how you live there, around your emotional life, perhaps you're looking for an addition to the family, maybe it's a property matter, because Saturn applies in the quincunx, you still may need to factor in quite a lot of patience, but persistence, and you have that in oodles, that tenacity that's a big part of your nature, is really going to help you to edge forwards. The full moon that occurs on the 29th is going to see your feelings quite close to the surface. And if there is something that needs to be said, perhaps to someone influential, you can say it. But as the full moon occurs, so Venus clashes with Uranus. But do you know, that clash could be actually something that stimulates a piece of fortune. It's interesting with squares because Uranus is a very electric influence and it's very quick moving. So someone could be quite provocative about a business idea, maybe something to do with a bit of a flutter. Say, go on, try this, something like that you might ordinarily be resistant to. It may even be, would you like to go out on a date or meet up with a friend that you're not expecting? And actually that can electrify the full moon in a positive way. But that full moon is really asking you to balance that classic dilemma that many of us have: work where the moon is and home and emotion where the sun is, if things have got a little out of kilter. Or you could find, just as you are wanting to focus on the more nourishing and nurturing and protective part of your situation, the sun being in Libra, there is some kind of worldly demand. But as the month comes to a close and Mercury ends its post-retrograde shadow, it then goes back into that link with Uranus again. Now, the one thing I haven't told you too much about is Jupiter slowing down, because that goes into a retrograde on the 4th as Venus goes direct. So that's why I feel, because that's retrograde through to Christmas time, things are going to go forwards, but they're going to go forwards in the way that's right for you. But that may be frustrating if you're not getting the news that you want more immediately. So just be aware that Venus going slower can see things just inch along a little more. However, it is forging a great link with Venus in a square. This is one of those exuberant squares. If you do meet up with friends, the chances are you're going to enjoy a really nice meal or an afternoon tea, and there could be some real calorific goodies that could be pretty hard to resist. Or if things are not quite rattling along as you would like, comfort can come from sweet things. So if you are on pretty strict diet, for example, that could be tested somewhat this month. But essentially this is a month of a lot of excitement and a lot of exchange of ideas, a lot of thinking about things, but maybe some rethinking, re-evaluating and resetting around those future hopes, because of the innovative energies of Uranus and the more spiritual but expansive vibe of Jupiter. But there in the 9th house is Saturn, so anything to do with expansion, travel, changing your world in some kind of radical way, that could be the handbrake to the more exciting developments that come from that 3rd house energy. But I just want to tell you about that 6th of September. So on that day, even though Mercury is retrograde, it is going to exactly connect with the Sun. So this is known as a cazimi. And it's known as an inferior cazimi because it's in retrograde, so Mercury will be this side of the Sun, but your thinking will likely be crystal clear despite the retrograde. And it may be that you're going to, have an exchange with someone, maybe a deep conversation. Maybe it's going to see something revealed around a sibling in your community. Some kind of connection is going to be very meaningful at that point, and from the 18th to the 23rd. So quite a profound month, lots of buzz, perhaps not going at quite the speed you want, but you are inch by inch preparing the way for what you really need at the root of your existence. And it is the case that the greater the patience you can apply, the more you will feel less frustrated. But I think it's moving, but just not quite at a breakneck speed. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Please like, comment, share or subscribe.